I'm Shawn.
And I'm Mike, and you're listening to
Shawn and Mike Take a Hike. Okay, what are we talking about today, Mike?
I think we're going to talk about how many clothes you should take on the trail.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. We've had a very hit and miss or trial and error with that over the last couple of years.
A trial and error, let me rephrase that. Trial and error is probably the right way to put that. I think the first trip we took was a 3-nighter, and if I were to go about today's standards, I probably packed for 5 weeks.
Yeah, I know. Right, I know. You and I, we packed like a normal camping trip for that with the amount of clothes that we took.
Yeah.
Because I remember when you and I first started looking into all this, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, had backpacked before. They had a military background and they had backpacked before. And I remember the one piece of advice that they gave me about packing clothes was to make sure that you had plenty of socks. Like, that was their big thing. Is they're like, your feet are going to sweat. You want to have plenty of socks. And I converted that in my brain into I need plenty of clothes.
Right.
And we very much packed like we were going on a
glamping trip.
Yeah, a glamping trip, like pulling up in the car, enough clothes for, a couple of wardrobe changes and all the things.
I mean, my background is, we've talked about it before, is I'm a sweater, so I thought that, like, okay, I'm going to wear these clothes, I'm going to sweat in them, they're going to be disgusting and horrible, and granted, I've never done this before. It turns out the whole experience is just disgusting, and I'm not going to say horrible, but like you have to embrace the suck. You have to embrace the stink. So, but didn't realize that on my first trip. So it was like, okay, so we're going to be hiking all day. I'm going to be sweating, so I'm going to have to do a full change when we get to camp. Find a way to dry all these clothes, stuff them back into a sack somewhere, and then wake up in the morning, put new clothes on, like all this kind of crap. Like, I felt like I had two to three changes of clothes a day almost. And,
and I think the only saving grace of that trip with the amount of clothes that we were packing is it was dead summer, hot weather. Like, thank God it wasn't fall weather clothes that we were packing with. Right. At least we were packing, I don't want to say skimpy clothes, but lightweight clothes, where we're not packing, like, heavyweight stuff like you would have to in the fall or, late fall or early spring. So.
Right. It was all T-shirts and lightweight pants and all of that kind of stuff. And that was back before I felt comfortable hiking in shorts. I'm not 100% there yet. I'm getting closer to hiking. We did hike in shorts. I think we
did shorts for one day last time.
But that's the only time I've ever done it. And again, we're in Michigan, and the ticks have been horrible. And my kind of go-to, and the one time we didn't duct tape our pants, we ended up with ticks, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of been my mantra, is just wearing long pants. I'm going to duct tape my thighs. You put the sticky side out, so if anybody has never done this before, you wrap around the thigh just above your knee.
You do it above the knee? I do it below the knee.
I do it just above the knee.
Oh,
don't I?
You do it different. No, you do it.
No, I do it. You're right. I do it
like your upper calf just below the knee.
Yeah, sorry, just below the knee. I've thought about doing the other one because we have gotten some that decided they wanted to get past it or jump on your like a little bit above. But so yeah, you put the sticky side out and you wrap it around and just get it a little taut so it doesn't fall off the pant leg. And then I didn't know if it was going to work or not, but the first time we tried it, we ended up with numerous ticks stuck to the duct tape.
I know. I think we had like a half a dozen that were stuck right to the duct tape, which we'll get into a whole bug episode. We have a whole bug repellent and what we do for bugs. So we have a whole episode planned for that. But
if you're in a tick-filled area, it's a great trick. We saw it online. It's no secret, but if you've never heard of it, give it a shot. It works.
It does work. I'll give it that. I mean, half the stuff, who knows if it works when you read it on the internet.
And for that one, you don't even need to make sure you buy, like, the good duct tape or anything like that. You just got to buy something sticky. Get the cheap stuff. It all works the same.
And then your duct tape can double as a fire starter if you need it to. So
right, you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Mike.
So can Doritos, but who takes Doritos on the trail?
Right.
But yeah, so I'm not a fan. I mean, I'm now a fan of shorts. I'm a sweater, so I mean, the less clothing, the better. Yeah. But I'm also not a fan of ticks, so I try to deter that. But so that aside, I don't know.
So back to what we were talking though. Like, so the first trip we took, you and I both packed way too many clothes. Mm-hmm. I mean, we packed like this was back when we were still packing like shower wipes and stuff like that too, which I don't necessarily pack anymore. But it was a set of clothes for every day, plus a pair of comfy shorts to change into when you get to camp that night. Mm-hmm. A couple extra pairs of socks. All that sort of stuff. So that was like the first trip that we did. Yep. And then I remember, fast forward a couple of trips after that, the weather was supposed to be, not so great. Chance of rain every day. So on that trip, we packed, extra changes of clothes in case we got wet. Plus we packed our rain suits. Plus we packed, this gets out of clothing, the realm of what we're talking about today, but we packed a tarp to cover our stuff in. Yeah. So we were packing way too many clothes. Way
too much.
All those clothes add weight. You're carrying everything on your back. We've said before, we don't necessarily think that, ounces matter so much, but, clothes are heavy. That weight adds up on how much you're taking. So Mike and I are to the point now where, what did you take on this most recent trip? How much? We went for, say, 3 days. So you have clothes on your back plus 3 days worth of clothes.
Yeah.
How much clothes did you take this time?
In essence, the last few years, we've done the same trip where it's 3 nights, 4 days. And we were just talking about how we took like a change or two of clothes per day on our first trip. To fast forward to our third trip of the same caliber, I took 1 pair of underwear per day plus a spare, 2 pairs of socks per day, and I think 1 extra t-shirt and 1 spare pair of pants just in case. Like,
so you packed more than I did even this time then.
Okay.
Because I took the clothes that I was wearing.
Yep.
The clothes you're going out in. Then I took 1 more pair of pants.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to think. I guess I probably should have written this down, but I think I took the clothes I was wearing, 1 extra pair of pants, 1 short sleeve t-shirt, and 1 long sleeve t-shirt, 1 pair of underwear per day, and 1 pair of socks per day. I didn't take any extra socks. I didn't take any extra underwear.
I think I had, now that I rethink it, and the way you rephrase that, I had the shirt on my back when we started, and that was the shirt on my back when we finished. I didn't even pull out my extra shirt. That was we'll get this out in the case of emergency if it rips or whatever. Which I'm a little upset about because that was my brand new shirt, and I bought it for that trip. But I ended up getting some holes in it for my pack, and then I tried to buy the same shirt again. They don't have it in my size, so I'm waiting for them to restock. But really like that shirt. But it's a really good hiking shirt. So, and so I had 2 shirts total. You took a short sleeve shirt. I did not. I took just 2 long sleeve shirts. The one on my back and then the one on my pack. And then I had the pair of pants I was wearing and the pair of pants in my pack. So that's what I meant by, like, the 2 pairs of pants. It was, like, the one I was wearing plus in there. The underwear was 1 per day plus the extra. And then I think the socks I had up to 2 per day. But I think it might have been, like, a 1.5 per day if I remember. But, we were going shorter. We had a couple of shorter days, so didn't really need to have the 2 per. So
I don't want to get too personal, but what do you think is going to happen that you need an extra pair of underwear?
I don't know. That's always been a habit of mine. Is just like just in case. I don't know. I sweat a lot.
Okay, I get that, but at the same time, you're fucking disgusting out there anyway, right? So, your options are, and this is kind of gross, but you could put on old underwear if you had to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had a total emergency where...
But ounces aren't pounds, and underwear is very lightweight, so 1 extra pair is not killing me.
Okay. I will give you that 1 extra pair is probably not killing you, but...
And I put on
I feel like it's overkill.
I put on a clean, dry pair after dipping into Lake Superior.
Yeah. I want to say I did too.
But then I still ended up with the right amount of underwear because I went swimming in Lake Superior in my underwear.
I think... I mean, this is too much information, but I'm pretty sure I just wore those the next day still. Like, I think I just left those on.
I don't feel like they dried. I don't feel like mine dried.
The ones after you went in the dip?
The clean ones.
Right, the clean ones. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so you wore those for a couple of hours. I wore those for a couple of hours plus the next day.
Now you're getting
it's gross. Whatever.
You're getting me to remember a month ago now, but
I know.
but I do feel like I dipped in Lake Superior. I changed my underwear, but I wore those the next day. But that was my extra pair. Like if I hadn't, I don't know.
I mean, according to the math that you're doing, you still should have wound up with a pair that you didn't wear.
Maybe I did. I don't really. I just empty my pack when I get home. So.
Yeah, I whatever. I mean, it's
we're just gonna scratch this whole episode.
But realistically, you and I wore, and I mean, for people that have never went hiking, this probably all sounds disgusting. But I hate to tell you, you're gonna be disgusting anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of the nature of hiking.
Mike and I basically wore the outer layer at least, the same clothes for 4 days.
Yep.
And then we each had a backup pants and shirt just in case. I mean, it could have rained, and then I'm just not into hiking in wet clothes or being in wet clothes for 4 days. So we both had an extra change of clothes that we never. I don't want to speak for you, but I didn't wear my extra shirt or pants. I used the same pants the entire time.
Yep.
Same shirt the entire time. So then my socks and underwear I changed every day.
I think by the day we were hiking out, that depending on how much further we were going, like if we were doing a longer trip, and we've said it before, this is the longest trip we've ever taken. Like it's 3 nights, 4 days.
Right.
If we were to start doing longer trips, then maybe I'd be wearing that extra pair, but you'd still have that dirty pair as a backup and as needed. But I really don't see what's going to happen to dip into that spare pair. If it's still wearable, because after you have it on for a half hour, an hour, you just have your clothes on again. It's gross it's gross to put on first thing in the morning, but you just embrace it and it's just starting the day.
It's gross to put on first thing in the morning. It's gross an hour into your hike. I mean, realistically, even if you're starting with clean clothes every day, those clothes you got on, they're freaking gross.
They're gross, yeah.
An hour in.
Yep.
I mean, you're walking through, if nothing else, they're covered in cobwebs half the time.
Well, yours are, because I let you lead.
Yeah, I know you do. But they're covered in that. They're covered in, at least mine are covered in bug spray of one form or another.
Yep.
They're covered in sweat. They're covered in trail grime. I mean, you're going to get gross. If you're afraid of getting gross out on the trail, I don't know what to tell you. It is hard to stay clean.
The trail might not be for you if you're afraid of getting gross, because
but then it goes back to pack what you're comfortable.
Yeah, because I guess the first couple of trips, we took our extra, our Jude wipes, we took our little shower in a bag, we took our things to kind of try to keep clean, because we're used to glamping. We were used to glamping. Right. And so I can't say maybe the trail's not for you. You just got to get used to the trail. But so, you just have to start to learn to embrace it. And so we're going to do just an overnighter in a couple of weeks. And might not pack
I'm going to take a pair of socks and underwear.
I'm not going to pack anything extra.
Extra underwear.
Well, because it's going to be colder. It's going to be October. So we're going to be packing a coat. We're going to be packing heavier sleeping bag. We're going to be packing other stuff that's heavier for us to get through it. But it's only a one-nighter, so it's not nearly as much food. It's not nearly as much other things. It's an easy peasy in the grand scheme of things compared to a multi-night. But
I know on our single nights we go a little bit crazy because I might even bring a chair on our single night one, because that's kind of nice to have to sit in. So pack what you're comfortable carrying, and if you are comfortable carrying a change of clothes for every day,
right,
and do what works for you. What Mike and I are saying that we have found is realistically for us, especially on a multi-night trip, that's too many clothes. Realistically, put your dirty clothes back on. Everybody else out on the trail, depending. You might not see another single person out on the trail,
right?
So who cares if you stink? Depending on where you go, if you're on a more populated trail, all those people are in the same boat. They all stink too.
I was going to say, everybody stinks on the trail. So there's people that are hiking in. We were just at Pictured Rocks. There's numerous little trailheads for parking lots and everything, just for people to get to a beach or anything like that. They had to hike in a mile and a half just to get to the damn beach. So they stink already too. They're in the same boat. They weren't planning on a mile and a. Maybe they were. Maybe they weren't, but they were thinking they're going to go see Lake Superior, and they're just end up having to hike in, and they're trying to just go to the beach, and half of them are dragging a damn cooler. So.
Oh, I know.
So
which is crazy.
You, no matter who you're running into on the trail, whatever the boat they're in, they're going to stink, or you're encountering them for 30 seconds and you move on with your life. You'll never see them again. So who cares?
Right, exactly. And then the other piece of clothing, I mentioned it briefly earlier, but what's your take on, I know last year when we went to the one that it was raining, I know you took a rain suit to that one.
Yep.
What's your take on the rain suit situation?
I still took a raincoat this last time, and I probably won't the next time, only because I've realized that, I'm already wet because I'm sweating. So there's really, I'll cover my pack. My pack is not 100% rain proof, so I have the rain shield for my pack, which it came with, but I have that for that. So I'll cover my pack, and I have a hat to keep the rain off of my face and all that kind of stuff. But I really don't feel like I think that's what the extra pair of pants and the extra shirt is for. Is if it gets so bad that stuff won't dry, that I will have dry clothes in the morning, and then once we can, I always take the paracord with us, and we can make a little clothesline. We can hang our stuff up, let it sit in the sun for a little bit, hopefully dry out, and we can get back to square one.
I didn't even take a rain jacket this last time, even though it was supposed to rain. When we went last year, I want to say that it said it was going to rain. Like, there was a 50% chance of rain every single day or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I took my entire rain suit, like rain pants, rain jacket, and the one day that it rained pretty good that day. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a downpour, but it was a nice steady rain when it did rain.
But yeah.
And so we stopped and, got our pack shields put on and all that. And then while I was doing that, I'm like, okay, well, it's starting to rain, so I'm going to put my rain suit on. And, I mean, I don't know. My personal feeling is that was more of a pain in the ass than if I were to just let myself get wet. Because, for one, it was raining, but it was super hot out still.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm, like, sweating inside my rain suit, because now not only do I got my regular clothes on, but now I got my rain suit on too, and it's hot out, so that's making me sweat even more. Plus, that rain suit don't breathe.
So I was just gonna say, the rain suit I have is back when it was Gander Mountain, it was a $20 Gander Mountain special that I got on clearance when they were going out of business, so I maybe paid $7 for it. It's a cheapy rain suit, so maybe some of the more expensive rain suits have the baffles and all that stuff to allow air in, but we'll keep the water out. I don't know.
Mine is the more expensive. Mine's a Coleman one.
Oh, well, okay. Well, but mine did not breathe at all. I felt like I would have been more comfortable just letting the rain hit me, because I was just sweating under the coat, and I could not get enough air underneath there. So
yeah, well, mine has all the vents. Mine's a Coleman. I mean, I got mine on clearance when the Coleman outlet was going out of business, but it's a Coleman one. It's got the vents in it. It's got the pants have the vents in it. So it did have the vents, but it was still so hot, and I don't know, maybe because it's a quote-unquote good rain suit, I just feel like the rubber or whatever that coating is that's on it is so thick that it just
doesn't allow it to breathe.
It just doesn't allow it to breathe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the coat fit me super well. So then you got this, like, raincoat on, and then you're trying to put your backpack on over top of it.
Yep.
So that was a pain in the ass. And then I feel like it was a good idea. At the time, I didn't know any better. Now that I have tried it, I think I would rather just get wet. Or if it is downpouring, find some sort of tree or something to get under and just wait it out for a little bit if that's an option.
Yeah, and one of the channels I follow online, they showed where if it starts downpouring or whatever, they'll find a tree or something, they'll set their tent up, and they'll just go hunker down in their tent for a while. Like, just to stay dry. So that's another option too. Is if you notice it's coming and you've got time to where you can get to your campsite after if you know that it's only going to rain for like an hour or two or whatever, or you just set up your camp and then that's where you're at for the night. If you don't want to hike in the rain, if it's torrential downpour, thunder, lightning, all this stuff, you don't want to be slipping in the mud, all that kind of stuff. There's nothing that says you can't set your tent up wherever you're at to stay safe. So
right.
There's always that option too. You don't have to push on just because you're not at your final destination. You just have to just be safe about it.
That's the thing. I mean, be smart about it, And then if you're in depending on where you're hiking, if you're in a protected wilderness zone, of course, if you do something like that, try to make it the least impactful to nature.
Right.
You and I, that night when it rained really bad, you and I wound up setting our tents up not where we were supposed to. It's a little bit of a different story altogether, but suffice to say, as far as this episode is concerned, we set up our tents not where our campsite was.
Right.
So realistically, we basically set our tents up more or less right on the path. I mean, off to one side as much as we could get without really trekking through nature, because they didn't want us doing that there. It's national forest, But we wound up doing that, and my personal take at the time was, well, A, nobody's coming out to check, which is maybe not the right attitude to have, but also, even if they did come out to check, it's like, okay, well, what do you want me to do? Like, I can't keep going. This is where I'm at. I need a shelter. Like, what do you want me to do? So it was kind of like a beg for forgiveness type thing.
Oh, but yeah, I think any DNR or any kind of enforcement officer, whatever, if you explain to them that you set up camp to stay safe, then they're just going to escort you out, and you just go about your business.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. That mean, like you said, that's a whole other episode. For the know when to, I think that's going to be our know when to bail, or you've had too much or whatever. Because you'll get to that point. Sometimes you bite off more than you can chew. So.
Yeah, but I think everybody will get there at some point. If you do this long enough. Maybe if you only ever go once and you decide it's not for you, okay, well, maybe you won't run into that.
Well,
but I think
that was your one time.
Well, that might be my one time. I don't know. Look, I was embarrassed at the time, and again, we're getting a little bit off topic, but I was really embarrassed at the time. But in hindsight, I do think we made the right decision to call it that time. But anyway, we'll get into that in the other episode. But so I don't really think I'm going to take a rain suit anymore, even if it does call for rain. I mean, I also think if it was calling for storms every single day, we'd probably wind up canceling. I'm not hardcore enough to want to go out and do it if it's literally storming every day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one that really, really hates to cancel, and for a lack of better words, I hate to go against the plan.
Yeah, I know you do.
But if it was going to be torrential downpour and like weather advisories and all that kind of stuff, I'm not going to go put myself in danger and all that stuff. If it's a little bit of rain here and there, like whatever, I'll go deal with it. Just because we haven't dealt with it that much, I think that would be a good thing to experience. And
I think it would be too, but I want this to be fun. I don't want this to be a miserable 4 days.
Well, fair, because you still got to get your pot going and boil water and all that kind of stuff, so you got to figure that out. And we already discussed tarps. Tarps are heavy, turns out.
Tarps are super heavy.
You weren't even carrying them. I carried 2. But we figured it out on who was carrying what, but yeah.
And then the only other thing, I want to mention this before I forget. I keep thinking about it and then forgetting to mention it. But so the other piece of clothing related packing thing that we do, remember we used to pack when we first started, we packed flip-flops or sandals to take for the end of the day. So when Mike and I first started, it was like, okay, your feet have been in your boots all day, and we're going to want something to get, you're going to want to let your feet breathe because you got sweaty feet. And so we're like, well, we'll take flip-flops or sandals, and that's a great idea. And honestly, until we thought of a better option, that was a great idea, because I loved getting to camp and taking my boots off. If you don't
have another option, make sure your feet are comfortable at the end of the day. If you don't, but go ahead, let them know you came up with it, so I'll let you...
Well, so I came up with this, and I'm going to say that I came up with it all on my own, because in my memory, that's where it came from. maybe I saw a TikTok or Reddit somewhere.
There it is.
I don't recall that being the case, and the only reason that I say that is because since I came up with this idea, right, it came to me in a dream, but since I had this thought, and we have gone again, well, now I've seen other people doing it, so it's like, okay, well, so it's not like I had a unique thought, and this is an original idea. Other people have thought of it too, but anyway, what we take now instead of flip-flops or sandals or something like that, which, you know, depending on the type of flip-flops or sandals that you have, may or may not be bulky. Mine are, I don't want to say they're real bulky, but they're like the, you know, like the Adidas slides or whatever.
Yeah, that was taking,
not super small.
I was taking Under Armour slides and lightweight.
Yeah, so, you know,
they're
those slides,
enough, but they're bulky.
They are lightweight, but they're big and bulky. So what I came up with, and apparently other people have also come up with, is I have water socks, like cheap, I assume off Amazon, like can roll it up like a sock almost, has a real thin pad on the bottom, but like water socks, you know, like just the slip on. I think the top is basically just made out of spandex. The bottom is like a thin piece of rubber, packs up super small, super lightweight, shove them right in your pack, don't even hardly notice they're there. That gives you a way to get your feet out of your boots when you're at camp, and then
they can breathe and dry out.
Breathe and dry out. Your boots can breathe and dry out. You got the little bit of rubber on the bottom for walking around in, so you're not getting sticks in the bottom of your feet. We used that last time, and I thought for me it worked out great. Did you think it worked out good?
It worked out really great, and I'll say another thing too is because you have the rubber sole on them and they breathe on top so that it's quick to dry. They're a water sock. They're meant to get in the water. I use mine primarily in my kayak when I'm fishing or just going, you know, down the river. But so that's what I take is just like a little water shoe, same as you. And when you have to go out, especially Lake Superior, gets a little rocky and things, and you get algae on the rocks or anything like that, having that little bit of a rubber sole when you're going out, because with our sandals and our slides and all that kind of stuff, usually take that off to get in the water just so you have something dry to put back on your feet. So these things are made to get wet. They're made to be quick drying, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It just works out to where you put those on when you get to camp. It doesn't matter where you got to go. You got to go in the mud. You got to go in the water. You got to go wherever. They're meant for that too. So they dry out. You smack them off before you put them back in your pack, and you've got your clean pair of shoes again. So,
right,
like super comfortable. Not as comfortable as like your slides, your flip flops, but way more comfortable than keeping your boots on all night. So.
Yeah, way more comfortable than that. Way better than just walking around barefoot, because then your feet are going to get super gross.
Right.
And I'm a little, you know, I don't feel like I'm real dainty, but like I don't want to step on gross shit when I'm walking into the lake or the stream to get water. Right. So I feel more comfortable stepping on stuff when I've got something on my foot when I'm stepping in water. So it's like a threefold winner.
Right. We've been out in lakes where it's not Lake Superior, it's like a more inland lake, and you're trying to get your water bag in there deep enough but you're trying to get out of all the muck, and so you got to go a little bit deeper. And people have been fishing in there, so you might end up with lures, hooks, or God knows what at the bottom there, and you got a little bit of extra protection too. So
yep.
It's a little bit nice to have that because you're not always going to be in the Great Lakes like we are, apparently.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
So
that was like I said, I'll take credit for it because I do think it was my original idea, although apparently I am not the first person to think of it. Because we saw other people at camp last time.
Not the first one, not the only one.
It was an original thought, but not a unique thought. How about that?
Okay, there you go. I'll give you that. I mean, you brought it to my attention. I was like, you know what, that's actually a damn good idea. And I think the first night we went, I just rolled it right up with my tent because I didn't go in the lake with them. And I was just like, screw it, I'll just roll it right up with my tent. And it just rolled right up, no extra bulk in the pack, where the slides were I don't know, by the time you stack them up, you probably got like 2 or 3 inches by, I'm a size 8.5, so not a giant foot, but you're still adding like 8 or 9 inches of foam, you know.
Yeah.
Just not heavy,
I don't know
like I said, but just bulky, takes up a lot of space.
I don't know if I would recommend rolling them up in your tent. And the only reason that I say that, because when you first said that, I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. I should do that. But then I think, okay, what if you had to get water in the middle of the day? What if if you ran out of water, you're passing by a lake, you maybe want to slip them on.
That's why you go first in the trail, and that's why you.
And then my shoes are out, so I can go in the lake. Okay, I get you. Yeah, I'm following what you're saying.
You got to have the buddy. That's another thing to take. Is always have a buddy that's willing to go first.
You are so thoughtful, Mike. I just. So yeah, I mean, so that's kind of Mike and I's tip, I guess. Don't overpack your clothes.
Don't overpack. Like, learn. Again, we've said it before. Learn what works for you, but at the same time, try to go into, like, if it is your first or second trip and you're just learning, because again, this is an amateur advice for amateurs. So if it is your first or second trip that you're thinking about going on, maybe cut back a shirt or two. Maybe cut back. You'll do yourself a lot of favors. Put that shirt on that you had the day before. Put that back on the next day. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pleasant. But just, you're not going to be pretty or pleasant a mile into your hike anyway. So,
do you want to talk maybe a minute, Mike, about your cotton versus Protect type material?
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I was a firm believer for some reason that the breathable, moisture-wicking clothing was going to be the best way to go on the trail because it'll keep the moisture away from the body. It's supposed to help keep you cool because it keeps the clothes wet, not you, and or whatever. And I don't understand the technology. I thought it was supposed to be what you do with sports and all that stuff. Hiking is a sport, so was wearing this. I don't know what the material is. It's everything Under Armour.
I know, it's all the stuff. It's all the stuff that stuff's made out of. I don't know what it is either. I mean, it's the moisture wicking sports material.
It's the athletic material stuff, and so I packed exclusively that on, and it's lighter weight. I do feel like it is lighter weight, maybe not.
Oh, I think it's lighter weight for sure.
So I packed that exclusively on our first couple of trips, and I recall numerous times where when we got to our site, like, I could not get my clothes dry. And hanging them up, I changed my clothes, all this kind of stuff. And even after hanging them up, I'm including my pants, my underwear, everything. Like, I had to hang it all up because it sucked all the moisture off my body, but it got so saturated that it saturated all of my other clothes.
Right.
So bad that I had to hang them up, and the wind wasn't moving right. It was so humid, whatever, that it just was not drying. So then I'm putting on my spare clothes. Well, the first trip I had spare clothes, plenty of them. But in the morning, I'm like, okay, these clothes have got to be dry, and it turns out they were not. And
I know, did your pants even dry that trip, or did your pants not even dry?
No, the last night out, because I ran out of pants, the last day out, I put on the pants I wore the first day, and they're still wet. Like,
but I think the whole reason, and you kind of said, you kind of said this, but I think the whole reason your pants were so wet was because, like, that shirt was wicking your sweat off your body, and then it got so saturated that it was literally dripping wet.
Yeah.
So then it's dripping down your pants, dripping down your underwear,
my pack
making that. Like, I don't feel like your pants and stuff would have been that wet.
No.
If
it's proven because since I've changed over and you were like, yeah, switch over to cotton because you weren't having that problem. So now I just wear regular cotton, just a t-shirt, just regular everyday t-shirt type of deal. And my pants don't get as wet. Like, my backpack don't get as wet. Like, I don't feel like I'm any more sweaty. Like, whatever. I just feel like maybe that material is to help keep you cooler when you're doing other shorter athletic sports or something. But when you're out in the trail for 6 hours, that's maybe a little bit more. I don't know. But my experience is cotton. Don't do all that extra moisture wicking crap, because the moisture has to go somewhere, and I guess apparently the somewhere is the rest of you.
Right. The somewhere is down your leg.
Right. So that was a great learning experience. It was miserable for a couple of trips, but now that I know better, I am much happier. So learn from my mistakes, I guess.
And then, I guess since we're talking about what clothes to pack or how much clothes to pack and all that sort of stuff, should we talk about the take a spare pair of clothes and leave them in your vehicle?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a really good idea that we had actually just this past trip. I think you had it actually. Was we always have an overnight bag because we're stopping on the way home from our annual trip, so we have an overnight bag anyway. But pack a separate bag to put your dirties in that you're wearing on the trail, and get into some clean, dry clothes for the truck ride home, just to feel a little bit kind of comfortable. You're still gonna stink. You're still gonna be dirty because you haven't showered or anything like that, but you can get into some clean, dry clothes. You don't have to sit there in your sweat while the air conditioning's blasting on you or anything like that. So
yeah, right. Get out of that nasty that you've been wearing. Because realistically, like we said earlier, the clothes that we came out of the trail in, those are the clothes that we started in. So you're 4 days worth of trail gross. Yep. And then, I mean, part of it is I want to get out of it because I'm feeling gross. And then the other part is, like, I don't want all that on the seats of the truck, Well, I don't want to grind that into the seats while we're driving. But yeah, we started doing that this last trip to bring the extra pair of clothes to change into when you get back to the truck.
And that's where you also pack your slides, your flip-flops, or your Crocs, or whatever your comfy shoes are that you really, really want to get into. You don't have to wear your boots home. You don't have to put your water socks on or whatever. You have some kind of comfy shoe in your truck or car, whatever you take. But yeah, just that's where you have your really comfy stuff. Like the last day hiking out, you've got your clean clothes and your comfy shoes. Another thing we tried, it didn't work out so well with the 4-day trip. Have a little cooler in your truck with maybe a celebratory beer or a celebratory Gatorade or something. Turns out it was a little too warm and the ice melted on us.
We just need a better cooler. It's still a good idea. We just need a better cooler. That was the lesson to take away, is that the cooler we have is not good enough. Not that that is a bad idea.
And be responsible about it. Don't have a celebratory 12-pack. One celebratory beer. You still got to drive to your destination safely. But you've been out on the trail all for 4 days or however long you've been out on the trail. It's all right to have one.
And the legal disclaimer that we'll put on is, know the rules in your area about open intox.
Right.
I don't want to recommend anything that's going to get anybody in prison or whatever.
There is that too.
If it is allowed in your area where you feel like you could at least get away with it, that might be an option.
So that's not clothing related, but but that was a celebratory victory related thing. So, but write in, have questions, whatever. we're happy to answer anything that we've come across that will work, won't work. If we don't know, we're happy to learn what you experience out on the trail. I mean, we're still amateurs too, so if you've got something that really works for you with clothing-wise, anything like that. I guess one other thing I will say is that I have ditched, I thought for sure, bucket or bonnie hats, boonie hats, whatever you call them, bucket hats. I thought that was going to be the way to go for me. It turns out I bought 3 or 4 that I thought I was going to love. I hate them all.
I know, you don't love yours. I love mine. I mean, I don't wear it all the time, but especially if you're on a trail that's in the sun, like you and I happen to hike quite a bit in the woods, so you don't so much need the bonnie hat because you don't need the wide brim. If I was in the sun all day, I feel like I probably would use the bonnie hat because I'm not necessarily packing sunscreen. And
I guess maybe that. I don't know. Like, I just walking it. I would almost deal with the sun more than dealing with the back brim of my hat rubbing on my pack.
I know, that drives you nuts. That doesn't drive me nuts. I don't know why it drives you nuts so much, but...
So, if I could find a way, I just need to glue the back brim up.
You need to get one with, like, a little snap where you can snap the back up. Get, like, what's that, like the not the Indiana Jones. What's the other guy? Crocodile Dundee. Get, like, the Crocodile Dundee kind that has, like, the side and then just put it on sideways.
Right, okay, yeah. Yeah, I'll figure that out.
That's in the back.
Yeah. A baseball hat
I
with
like
a
bonnie hat.
Their breathable back is, like a trucker hat is, like, my way to go, but...
Yeah. But I do think, I mean, I guess since we're talking about clothes, I do think a hat of some sort...
Yeah.
Even if you don't wear it all the time, if you were to get into a situation where you needed your bug net on, you're going to want the hat to keep the bug net off your face.
Yeah.
Whatever type of hat that is. So even if you're not wearing it all the time, I do think you probably want to take a hat of some sort.
Yeah. And most of the bonnie hats or the bug hats, like, you can fold them up and crunch them up in whatever way and put them in your pack if you need to, or stuff them underneath. However if you're not going to wear it, it is packable enough to put away. Same as a baseball cap, maybe not as foldable just because of the brim, but the brim's a little stiffer. But I just tend to wear my baseball cap 100% of the time. So
yeah. All right, so so do what works for you. Of course, I would say Mike and I's experiences. Really, don't pack too many clothes because you're going to be gross either way, and save the weight and save the space.
Like I said, let us know if you have found anything that works differently. I say that as if we've got thousands of followers, but
we might someday.
We might someday. So if you find something that we said that is complete BS and it goes against everything you stand for, let us know about it.
Yeah, you let us know on our email. Our email is ShawnMikeHike@gmail.com, or we're on basically all of the social medias, all of them at ShawnMikeHike. So reach out and tell us that we're full of shit, or you got better ideas, or this was helpful, or any of those things.
Yeah,
or reach us and let us know.
Yeah, or a thank you or something. Shawn is quasi-famous. He did receive some fan mail, so it was addressed directly to Shawn. So
it was to the joint Gmail account. It said "you guys," so that is both of us.
It was addressed, "Hey Shawn." So,
well, thank you to our listener who wrote in. Really made our day. So we'll say that. But yeah, like Mike said, if you got any comments about anything we've said in this episode, feel free to write in. We'd love to hear what people think. Hopefully this information was useful.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, thank you, Laura, for writing in. So appreciate you. So that's all I got, Mike. Unless you got anything else.
No. I just like to finish this the way I have been lately, and just tell you to go take a hike.
Yeah, go take a hike, Mike. We'll see you guys again in 2 weeks.
Later.